A web browser does not become connected to a website. When a web browser is displaying a page from a website, that browser is no longer associated with the site in any way. Each page request it makes is independent of all the other page requests, and the server is getting page requests coming at it at random times from all directions. So if it wants to keep track of which is which, it has to do something special. The web browser can request that the browser store a cookie, so the browser can be identified when it returns to ask for another page to be displayed. This is sort of a pseudo-connectedness, and it's called a session. Each time the browser requests a page, the server looks at the cookies stored in the browser to try to recognize the browser. This is usually done for the server to get some idea about what the person using the browser may be looking for. It could be specific pages of information, or it could be a general subject matter. Some use it to determine what kind of ads to display. It's possible for browsers to disable cookies and refuse to store them. A session can still be maintained by using URL encoding instead of cookies. That is, some information is maintained by being included in the pages in such a way that it's returned with the requests, and the browser can be tracked that way. Other than the fundamental techniques, the difference between the two is persistence. With URL encoding, a browser can go away to another website and return to this one, and a new session will be initiated. With cookies, things are much more persistent. A cookie can be retained in a browser for years and recognized the next time that you return to the site. With cookies, the browser actually does the work for you. You pass the browser a name and a value to go with it, and the browser stores the name and the value in case you ask for it again. Later, when you ask for the name, it responds by giving you the value for it. You can just read it or you can update it. Cookie values can get quite large, so you can actually store a lot of the preference information inside the cookie value itself. Cookies have a bad reputation with some people because they feel like they're being spied on. When they come to a website and it knows something about what they prefer, or it calls them by name from that time they enter their credit card, they get this feeling that they're being watched and that it's the fault of the cookies. This motivates the people to disable cookies in their browser, or at least to delete all the cookies that their browser has stored away. When you send out a web page, you include links in the page, and the user will use one of the links to return a request for another page. Well, URL encoding involves the inclusion of specific coding information in the URL request link so the server can recognize which browser is responding to that link. There is no participation required on the part of the browser. It just responds to the link definitions the way they appear on the page. The recognition is just as valid as with cookies, but it doesn't persist over a long period of time. If someone goes away and comes in fresh, the new encoding you give the page won't connect with the previous encoding. That's okay in many cases because all you want to do is help keep folks on track while they are in one browsing session. A shopping cart is a prime example of doing this. The user can continue to shop around the site and will retain a link to the same shopping cart throughout the session.